Hi, everyone. I am Kylie Fitzgerald. I am a Senior Product Marketing Manager here at Zerto. I am very excited to be hosting, I think, the 8th annual Scary DR Stories. So this is a really exciting year. We have a few good stories, two customers speaking today, and one highly classified. But before we start getting into all that, I just want to say thank you to everybody that had submitted a story. It's always fun to, read your stories, talk with you guys, and really just hear how you guys are enjoying using Zerto today and what a night and day difference it can be from these tales of the past. So today I'm going to be taking you through, first and foremost, one second. I'm going to be taking you through some terrifying threats of today, what we have been seeing lately in terms of the biggest threats in the industry, and how Zerto is truly mitigating and helping you not only respond, but now detect those instances and keep yourselves protected with our always-on near synchronous replication. We'll hear from, as I said, two customers and their true stories that they dealt with in the past, and then how Zerto is helping them today. We did have one customer that was unable to be here today, so I have a special spooky guest, Anthony Dutra, technology marketer on our team, really great guy that I'm sure you guys have heard before if you've joined us on any of our other events. And then I'll take you through what we're doing today with cyber recovery and how you guys can build resilience with HPE and Zerto together. So, biggest threats that we are hearing, not just through reports and talking to analysts, but what we're actually truly hearing from you all, our customers. The biggest threats that still stand to be the cyber attacks, from ransomware to malware. 61% of those threats happening or DR events that triggered last year were from a ransomware attack or a DR or a cyber event. And then we have natural disasters, hardware failures, and our regular human errors. And we're all facing the looming need to move to the cloud, the complexity that comes from that, and having to do so for certain compliance that you may have to meet, and the challenges you may have with your current technology stack and how you may have to evolve that over time to meet certain standards. So how is Zerto answering to those threats today? Really, we stand on three key pillars and three key areas. Disaster recovery, which we've been doing since 2009, but how we've really built out our solution to answer and resolve for ransomware resilience. And the ability for you to move in and to move data to, from, and in between the clouds, and making it easy for when you guys have to do major migrations. We're really answering those three key areas. And how are we doing it? We're doing it with orchestrated and automated continuous data protection, and providing the tools that you need to make sound decisions by taking a look at the analytics that we can provide you. And we're protecting you from edge to cloud. We are we work with a lot of different vendors, and making it super easy for you guys to choose Zerto at the end of the day to help protect your products. Continuous data protection, though, is really underpinned by one key component, which is our near synchronous replication. It's giving you the best of both worlds because it's cost effective and it's happening near synchronously. So it's happening every 2 or 3 seconds, and it's being stored in a journal that allows you to have checkpoints that you can revert back to at any point in time. And that's how we're delivering our RTOs of just a few minutes, and really those RPOs of a few seconds. We'll even hear today from a customer that's getting RPOs of 2 seconds. So really amazing stuff that other competitors of ours are not really able to do at this point in time, because they're doing more so snapshots. We're not doing that. No scheduling, no agents, and we're hardware and storage agnostic. So you can innovate that tech stack no matter what you're using. As you saw, we integrate with a lot of uh, different platforms and any cloud at the end of the day, making it easy for you to scale and making it really easy for you to deploy and manage this product throughout the lifetime that you use it. So now that we talked a little bit about Zerto, I want to start getting into our first scary story. Prabhi Patel, the storage team lead at Census. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited to hear from you again and let you share your story on the horrific hardware failure and human error experience that you had. Prabhi, are you on?
Yep, yep, I'm here. Can you
Awesome.
hear me, Kylie?
Yeah, sounding good. Happy Halloween.
Awesome. Yeah, happy Halloween to you too. Yep.
Well,
So,
yeah, so if you want to share us your story, I'm excited to hear it again and excited for everybody else to hear it.
yep, nope. Thank you very much for this opportunity. A little bit of background. Yeah, a couple employers ago, we were running a distributed file system environment. So, for those of you that know, that's where user data is synchronized to multiple locations. Early in the year, we had a server die, which was okay because we were replicating that to a couple other servers, and those other servers were doing well. Um, got the approvals from management to get a replacement server. It was approved, purchased, configured, got it pretty close to the end. It was nearly deployed. However, other larger priorities kind of came in, and this one got knocked down to a lower priority, and it sat on the shelf for a little while, and it was forgotten about. Few months later, a second server in that distributed file system environment died, and unfortunately, all of our corporate data was only replicated between the first server that died and then the second one that had just recently died. So we had to restore data backups to the third server that was in that DFS environment, and then we had to republish out all the CIFS SMB shares. Unfortunately, the backups were restored back in January, and we did a robocopy job that takes data in that DFS environment off to disk on our backup server, which then takes it to tape, which was again looking for that first server that died at the beginning of the year. So at this point, users are already 4 months back. They've already lost 4 months of data. We had to proceed to attempt it off of the second server. Once that recovery was completed, the data was restored to the user's folders, but unfortunately, it turns out that much of the recovered data was corrupt. And at this point, we had some data for our users from the last 4 months, but now we have older data, again, that's also corrupted. So again, we had to go back to our tape backup solution, recover some of the pre-January data, and then at that point we did some integrity checks and we had to call it good. But yeah, we had folks that started with.
Did we lose you, Prabhi?
Oh, sorry.
No worries.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so when we went to the tape, we had lost some of the data at the beginning of the year all the way until the end of the first quarter. So those that started with that first part of the alphabet to the middle, um, we had lost about 4 months of their data. So lessons learned: we got to be hyper vigilant. Sorry, go ahead, Kylie.
No, you're good. Keep going.
Oh, okay, yeah. So that was pretty much it. We had to use old tape library modalities, to kind of get the data back. Again, it was just
And
an unfortunate set of circumstances that happened. But again, some of the lessons that we learned is that when we're in a degraded state like this, we have to be hyper vigilant. Things like eliminating assumptions, like assuming that backups work as expected, right? Like one thing people
mhm,
should always do is check not only are you getting backups, but can you actually successfully restore those backups? That's something
yeah,
that we never checked. Expect worst case scenario, or and again, like um, very unlikely for a server to, like a second or a third server to lose, but it's important to think about things like this, even though these chances are slim, whether it's a server being lost or like a drive, like in a RAID 5 or a RAID 6 or some type of array, like a double degraded, triple degraded failure, that these things can occur. And also one thing we learned too was attention to detail is so important, right? So
yeah,
it's more important than speed. Did you actually, the data we covered is actually recoverable, but just having the attention to detail that, hey, did we get all these different pieces in the process covered? And as Kylie put it right there on the slide, an incident can become a crisis, because it causes an all hands, a SEV one, and you really got to bring the people to the table that have knowledge and be able to openly discuss it and challenge people back and forth in an open and healthy debate to reach the final solution. So again, we thought we knew, but we didn't. But again, we look at it again. Some of these data protection backup tools were reporting successful jobs, but that's because the job was supposed to kick off a robocopy script, and there was no return loop in that robocopy script had the script encountered failure. So when you identify things like that, you really have to bring and talk about mitigation and multiple levels of redundancy. And again, on top of
yeah,
that, again, treat, humans in the chain of IT are humans. We're people at the end of the day. So
absolutely.
be attentive to people, right? Like one of the employees on my team had signs of burnout. I saw some of those warning signs. I tried to talk to him. Obviously, he said he was good to go, but I should have trusted my gut and provide a little bit more direction and oversight, kind of during the incident, to kind of help him coach him through it, and make sure that we had all the bases covered. But
Yeah.
um,
But as you
you know,
said, we're all human, and so that I appreciate that because it's, it can happen to anybody, and that's why, as you said, it's important to be hyper vigilant, ask those challenging questions to one another. Um, probably, what was it like to have to go back to tapes? Is that something that you guys are still doing prevalently right now?
yeah, even in my current employer, yeah, we did identify data protection backup workloads that still do require the use of an old 10 to 12-year-old tape library.
Wow.
And it was hard because we had to put in some purchase orders to order new tape media, and to meet retention policies and things like that. We've got different customers with different SLAs, and so it was difficult, but to have those conversations. But again, it was good because then we started having the discussions. Hey, how do we get this stuff into a different type of media, like AWS, like a public that has cheap and deep storage, right? That has these glacier tiers that we can still send them out to the cloud, and be able to pull them back again. Because when management told us, hey, we get maybe a restore request maybe once a year or once every 3 years, do we really need to maintain a tape infrastructure, tape library with media, hiring Iron Mountain to run reports and pull tapes every week, and a lot of effort, administrative overhead that can be cut out just by saying, hey, let's send this over to Glacier. Use some of these more modern technologies to
Yeah.
alleviate a lot of this administrative overhead and cost.
Yeah. And so, speaking of day, with Zerto, you guys are, I apologize, it went ahead. 1 second. There we go. So today, what you guys are doing in terms of protecting your virtualized environments with Zerto, I was looking at your account and I was pretty floored. You guys are protecting 95 VMs, but I noticed that you guys have a lot of SLAs. You're protecting across a lot of clients and different sites, it seems. Is that correct?
Yeah, we've got a very broad customer base, spread out across North America. So, and each one of them, like you said, has different SLAs. We've got different tier customers, kind of like that gold, silver, bronze kind of tier, and so it's important for us to be able to have Zerto as a core part of infrastructure in our environment, to deliver those RPOs and to meet those different SLAs across our customer base.
Yeah, and for those that are not familiar, census, they're really monitoring a lot of, you said, water meters, electricity meters, I think gas as well. So, each client has all of these different systems that they're monitoring and ensuring. And at the end of the day, you guys are getting RPOs as low as 2 seconds, I saw. Correct, Robbie?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's great. That's
and,
awesome.
and
Um,
it's great. Yeah, it's great because recently we just did. We're required a couple times a year to do DR tests and failovers back and forth, and with as healthy as the ZVMs have been running, as healthy as the VPGs are, and the way we've kind of set up the protection groups, we're able to achieve that. And in our last DR test several weeks ago, we were able to what normally took about uh,
you cut out there for a
Oh,
second.
oh, sorry. Yeah. I was
Yes.
saying, we did a DR test a few weeks ago, and what normally took us about an hour and a half to 2 hours, usually on a Zoom call with 25 to 35 participants, we were able to cut that down to about 15 minutes. So,
Wow.
it was
Yeah,
great.
that's
We saved a
awesome.
lot of time. Yep.
That's great. And that's what we're about, saving you guys time. And I know that you guys are already, working to get into Zerto 10. And so that's kind of where I'll take us on the next step. So thank you so much, Pravi. I really appreciate your time and sharing your story and your experience with Zerto. Thank you. Happy Halloween.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thank you, Kylie. Thank you very much.
Yeah, have a good one. And congratulations again on your spooky prize.
Thank you.
Um, I talked a little bit earlier about that unique journaling that we're able to utilize. You can store the data for up to 30 days. And what you're really seeing here on this slide is how say that you're hit by a disaster strikes at 10 p.m. at night. If you guys are currently only working with a backup solution, you're looking at rolling back your data to a point 24 hours before. That's 24 hours of data loss. And if you're using snapshots only, that's possibly up to 4 hours of data loss. But with Zerto, what we're doing differently is with that real-time replication is we're offering you recovery point objectives that allow you to recover to a state seconds before an attack. If it was 10 o'clock at night, you can rewind back to 9:59 in 55 seconds. That's really compared to what you could lose with a backup or a snapshot. This is almost nearly eliminating data loss for you. And in that same line of our real-time replication, we're also offering now real-time encryption detection so that you can get the fastest alerting system of something anomalous in your network, some malicious activity that could be happening that could leave you in a disastrous event otherwise. This allows you to respond faster and recover quickly to a clean state before that attack may have happened, giving you a more pinpointed spot that you know that you could recover safely to in that downtime event. Additionally, what we're doing too with the near synchronous replication, with the journaling, and the third key component of what makes continuous data protection is the application-centric protection. Pravi was speaking a little while ago about the different protection groups that he has set up. That's pretty much what you're visualizing here. You put it together, different groups of VMs of, what you want to protect, different apps, say you want to put everything from your Salesforce in one virtual protection group. Well, if you do that and something were to happen causing you a downtime event and you need to get up quickly, what's going to allow you to resume operations and at scale is with this application-centric recovery, where you're doing it in one cohesive unit. You're recovering multi VM application stacks as one consistent whole. And you're getting right order fidelity across of them, and you're going to have consistent restore points. You're doing this all without any staggered backup windows and without any of the scheduling of those replication jobs. So let's go back to another customer now that we've learned a little bit more about Zerto and heard about something that we all face and fear itself is human error and hardware failure. Let's talk about something even creepier, a DR testing event that may have gone wrong. Khan, are you on with us today?
Yeah, Kelly, can you hear me?
Yeah, hey Khan, how's it going?
Yeah, not too bad. Thank you. Thanks for asking. I hope everyone is good for today as well.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. Yeah, Khan is a system engineer at CVS Health, and he has a fantastic story to share with us about an ominous outage and a monstrous migration that took about 2 years to do. Khan, you have the floor.
Alrighty. So guys, my name is Khan. I work as a Linux engineer, and we often do a DR exercise every quarter, every year, every 6 months. So a few years back when we were doing our DR exercise, we used to have an old system where the process of doing a DR recovery, we used to go to the data center, where this data center was a somewhere located different place, which has a large windows, and there were we were not many people around there, and this exercise was really planned very well, but we never expected that we really going to have an unfolded situation, really like a nightmare in this DR exercise. As we begin our exercise, if alarm went off, there is a power outage alarm, so we did not have any power, but the we expect that the backup generator will get kicked in, but it does not get kicked in. So the panic swept through the floor as the light started flickering, and the silence of the data center was broken. And we can only hear the noise of the footsteps we were walking, because it was so dark and it was so quiet that nobody was able to hear anything other than the footsteps of the people walking on the floor. Everyone we really was very desperate because they do not have any kind of life to see each other, and they do not, and their phone system and the communication system also stop working. If you probably night, most of the time when you go to the data center, your phone doesn't have signals in there because it is too packed that you won't really get a network over there. And because of this, backup generator got failed, the light was not on, the radios and the phones were dead, leaving us in an isolated of darkness of data center. The only source of light what we notice is coming through an emergency exit sign, and a mysterious strange image play go over the rack of a server. We were surprised to see that image, like what kind of image is it which is glowing over the rack of the server with a flashlight in a hand. Actually we see an image with a flashlight in a hand on a server. We were really scared. We thought of like just walk into the way where the server is so that we can actually see what exactly it is. As we move deeper inside it, we hear a unsettling sound like a whisper and murmur that seems to come from nowhere at all. We hear a sound like where it is coming from, but there is no one, and it is coming from everywhere. We really got scared. Everyone was very in tension, and we saw a flickered image on the server. The server was not supposed to be even there, and we saw an image of that. I think something ghostly image, I could say. It's a strange image. We really got scared for a while. Everyone was so silent. Nobody was able to hear. And I still remember that day that it gets me really scary. And we saw a different kind of pattern or images get changing on a rack of a server. The team nerves was really stretched to the limit when they tumble upon a server rack. It was a server where we were never expected to be that place, and there was no reason for that server, and it has any kind of data in there. The server started vibrating. Looks like we were so scared that maybe some of the things was not in real happening, but feel like to us that is really happening. We saw it's like a vibrant with a malevolent intent. It's like a shaking.
Ugh.
Suddenly, the room temperature was quietly dropped. Even the data center is already a place where it has too much cold, and we saw in more temperature dropping in that environment. And we saw like a fog coming out of the servers, and we saw a vision is really disappearing because of the fog coming up from the data center. We could hardly bear to see each other with the darkness, with the fog, and with the coldness, and with the shaking of the unrealistic images coming up on the servers. As the panic peak is reached, then all of a sudden the lights came back on, the generator finally kicked back in. The
Whew.
communication system was restored. The DRS exercise had taken an unexpected and terrifying turn. Trust me, when we realize about that one, regardless of the explanation, we will never forget the spine-tingling experience of the real-life nightmare, including the DR exercise. Nobody can explain to us what kind of situation was there, how was the glitch happen, and what was being haunted over there for a while. There are few answers where nobody can explain to, and nobody
I think,
can
yeah,
define those things.
that's the scariest part of all. It's unexplicable. And
Unexpected.
also an unknown server that you found in the data center. That's I don't know how often that happens, but that doesn't sound that sounds a little scary.
Yeah, it was really scary. The people who have been into that spot, it was really more scary than anyone else, I would think. Like we still, when we think about that one, we still have those scary part in our mind.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I mean, and then something else too that you told me about at this previous company that you guys were doing a migration of servers and it took over 2 years. Is
Yep.
that right?
We
Yeah,
were moving a data center from one data center to another center, so it took around because there were a lot of servers and there were critical applications, so it took almost 2 years. We have to move the data. It was a big data center, I would say that.
that well, with today, with Zerto, I know that it wouldn't take that long to do so. Thank you, Khan. That's a crazy good story. Extremely scary, especially considering no lights, weird cryptic symbols happening, flickering on the screens, and no access to the outside really. If you guys didn't have your phones, and it was probably pretty long ago, with not as good a service as these days.
Yes.
So let's go and talk about how Zerto is helping you at CVS.
So
Uh,
every
yeah.
quarter, as I said, like we do have even DR exercise tomorrow where we will be recovering
Oh,
our
you're doing one tomorrow, really? That's so funny.
Yeah, that's and actually I have some meeting in about few minutes after I was thinking of joining after this call. So DR exercise goes every quarter in CVS, and it's really now pretty easy with the Zerto. We have it. It's just a fraction of seconds, as you said, it's less than 7 seconds, I would say that. And we do, as you know, we have a lot of servers in CVS. Which have
Yeah.
a Zerto in there, and it's a really big exercise which we go through. Oh, within 4 hours at RTO, we bring our all the tier one application with this around 50 to 100 servers. Sometimes we do have 200 servers. We bring those server up. The validation happens across all the database application, shake our calls, everything happens just within less than 1 hour, which we used to take us before the Zerto. We used to sit almost for 8 to 10 hours to do this exercise and 24/7. Sometime when we ran into some issues,
Jeez.
we used to
Yeah.
really sit 24/7 support. But with the Zerto, once we had it for the tier one server, it makes so easy our life. Just within one click, we are getting our everything back. And really, to explain to one of the situation we ran into, it's good that you brought it up about just few minutes back, that you can get the data a second before your server get corrupted. We do have one
Mhm.
scenario where our production server had some kind of issues where we lost a lot of data. So then then everyone started troubleshooting on that one. We thought we don't need to troubleshoot so much for that one. When we really have a production server down, we had a
Mm.
Zerto on this box. We can just do recover the server with one click and in few seconds. And everyone was so happy with that input. And we just got the server back, and we didn't lose
Oh,
any
that's
data
great.
at all within that few minutes. It was really a
Yeah,
good experience to use the Zerto in that bad scenario, as well as in the DRF exercise, where we are reducing our time, effort, and too much, you know, uh,
yeah,
hassles with the troubleshooting and all those things.
absolutely. Well, I'm happy that it's making you and your team so happy, and it's such a seamless exercise at this point. And then you're getting those RPOs. You said even lower than 7 seconds most of the time, for
Yeah,
the, and across thousands of VMs. Right now, having 716 protected at the moment. So as you guys continuously change and innovate your own structures, I know you guys got some projects going on that we talked about. So thank you, Khan, so much. I love having you on. Really appreciate you sharing your story and your experience with Zerto.
thank you so much, Kelly. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, have a great day. Happy Halloween.
You too.
So I want to touch on a couple things that me and Khan just talked about. Was, you know, when when you're testing with Zerto, it's non-disruptive and it's causing no impact to that production environment. So when you're doing those DR tests, it's not going to affect anything, which is what's making it easier for him and other customers like himself to be able to do those tests more often. And even, Pravi mentioned earlier that he's doing a full-on DR situation, and that when that he was doing that it happens just as quickly. So we're giving you that time of recoverability. But then also, let's talk about the time for what you may be doing to, from, or between multiple clouds, and what we can do in terms of even migrations, allowing you to seamlessly move your VMs and apps between and clouds and on-prem without ease, without risk. Um, and at the end of the day, when I think about another great success story from another customer is when we interviewed and had American Airlines come on and talk about how they had to do a huge migration project that was expected to take almost a year. I think 9 months to 12 months was the expected or the estimated plan what they had with a previous vendor. With Zerto, we were able to do it in around a month. So really shortening that time period for for very large enterprise organizations, and therefore it doesn't matter, from the smallest company to the largest company, we're able to still deliver that ease, that ease and that speed that you need in terms of disaster recovery and these real world use cases throughout your cloud journey. So now, the customer that was going to join us today, regardless of being able to join, did ask to be anonymized. There was a very scary point in time that I think that I know that I experienced it. So, won't share my exact age, but back in the 90s, I think we all recall a time where we were getting a lot of anthrax attacks and threats. So let's talk about blindsiding bioterrorism. And I'm going to have Anthony join us and talk a little bit about the story that he got the chance to hear from a healthcare customer that will remain anonymous for this presentation.
Yeah,
Anthony, are you with us?
I am. Can you hear me, Kylie?
Yeah, hey, how's it going?
Awesome. Yes, thank you. And thank you everybody for joining today. I mean, talk about a scary story on Halloween. When I was asked to come just look at this story, and like Kylie, growing up in the 90s, there is nothing that I find more scary and relevant, particularly all to us, that has happened than the anthrax scares. And this one in particular did happen to a healthcare organization that we've mentioned. Apparently, they've had letters of anthrax that were sitting within their buildings for quite some time, both their office buildings as well as data center. And it started off with just a couple of employees being sick. And it started to then obviously become apparent that it was an anthrax threat. And the sites were literally had to be shut physically down with FBI people coming in suits, in hazmat
Oh yeah,
suits,
the hazmat suits and all. Yep.
to shut down the entire building. Now, for this customer in particular, a DR site wasn't even a thought, right? Like, we are just operating, as usual, as business here. Who would have thought this terrorist threat would have affected us? So they literally had to rebuild everything from scratch after things were completely cleared out. And obviously, this provided the huge lesson learned of having that secondary DR site to have available in case absolutely, anything could happen, right? Again, bioterrorism, how could we even think that would happen to our business? But it, as we've seen, can happen to absolutely anybody.
Yep.
He
Absolutely.
mentioned a couple of other things here, right? A lot of his core infrastructure went down. It took a long time to get back up. And again, he really talked about the importance of having a DR site, being able to test and not only see the recovery happen in real time and be non-destructive as possible, but it's nice to have full insights into what your DR strategy is looking like as well, which I thought was interesting. He mentioned, and I think you know a little bit more about that, right, Kylie?
Yeah, and so I'll take it actually to that, and because it's day and night from what it was like long ago when he experienced that.
Yeah.
This customer is has been at another location for 4 years now. And he really, wanted to talk about the differences that he sees, as a long-term healthcare, having a long healthcare career, working in IT for healthcare for a long time. It's like day and night now with what he's able to do with Zerto in terms of meeting SLA requirements and the HIPAA compliance. One thing, Anthony, you and I talked about is like the ease that he has in generating reports. Yeah, so sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, right, exactly. Not to flip everything over. So I like his quote exactly right there. I think the whole point of Zerto's non-destructive testing and then having that PDF report shows step by step what exactly did we automate in that recovery process. Not only gives him a good story to bring back to his leadership, but this proves their HIPAA compliance. It proves that they're meeting the SLAs to their stakeholders and that they can actually recover from an attack and not worry about having to bring everything back up from net new again. So it's the value is obviously there, and really, classified or not, you heard a lot of great stories today that kind of prove this use case.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Anthony. I appreciate that. So, in speaking about reports, I wanted to really focus in then, what else Zerto can offer you that it helps customers just like that and many others, because healthcare is not the only industry that has, regulatory and requirements and compliance standards to meet. There's different ones across all your organizations. So with Zerto's reporting, you're able to get that multi-site visibility, and it allows you to not only just look at what has happened and what's currently going on, but it allows you to think forward and start making plans for the future and for the worst of worst events. So let's get into that and talk about the worst of it all, ransomware attacks. And in the event that something were to happen that is a need for your last resort of recovery, and I want to talk about the cyber resilience vault that Zerto has built with HPE. So, first and foremost, are you guys aware that at this point, that by the year 2031, whether on your cell phone, on your work computer, anywhere in the world, you're going to be a victim possibly of every 2 seconds of a ransomware attack opportunity. The industry is really growing, and at this point in time, it's a C-level initiative that is really, really important. When I spoke with Prabi, for example, he was saying the two biggest, most important things for his company right now is AI and ransomware, and how they're going to make sure that they're ready and up to date in those areas in the coming year. So with new threats, you're going to need new solutions. And with Zerto and HPE, you're going to be able to build that modern data protection portfolio that allows you to protect all workloads, all tiers, and meet all SLAs, and make sure that you're eliminating data loss and downtime in this new found landscape. How are we doing that? We're doing that from edge to cloud. We're covering you from your tier 1, tier 2 applications with disaster recovery, specifically with Zerto. And Zerto is available in multiple different ways to meet any business's need at this point. You can work directly with us or through one of our 350 plus MSPs who are happy to help you with DR as a service. Or if you want to use it as a self-service, as a cloud service on HPE GreenLake, we now have it offered as SaaS-based DR in the cloud. But cover the full spectrum, you have to cover it all the way down to backup and long-term retention, because some of you do have those compliancy standards that require you to hold on to that data for many years. We talked about tape and how that is still prevalent and still needed. But two solutions that Zerto and HPE are offering together is Zerto Backup for SaaS, so being able to protect your SaaS applications, such as like Microsoft 365. And then otherwise, for your long-term retention and for a cost-effective approach, you'll have HPE GreenLake for backup and recovery that will keep you compliant for years. And these two areas come together to form a new philosophy, which is cyber recovery, a new element that we're finding needs further protection for your last resort option. So we've built this unified portfolio for you to manage, protect, and store all of your data with HPE solutions and products. And specifically, we've worked on building a Zerto cyber resilience vault. What you're getting here is a completely isolated, air-gapped vault or clean room. There's no way in, there's no way out, and it's providing you these immutable data copies with zero trust architecture. Gartner really believes that at this point in time, it's the highest level of security and recovery that you can have and need in with today's ransomware threats and other forms of hacking. And it really was purpose built for cyber recovery. So it's really built with Zerto, obviously, but industry leading solutions along that include the HPE ProLiant, HPE Electra, Aruba networking, and you can even bring in the HPE GreenLake for backup and recovery into this architecture to really create that foolproof plan. So we've talked a bit today about all the different things, but what we're really doing at the end of the day is solving for any disruption and providing you that end-to-end data protection. We're going to help you build that ransomware resilience so that you can mitigate from any disaster, from any attack, and we're going to make it easier for you and allowing you to move to, from, and between the cloud, protecting all of those applications in the cloud as well, while you continue to innovate your tech stack and modernize that infrastructure. So today, I'd love for you guys to test, get yourselves signed up to do a live tailored demo. We're happy to take you through one of them. If you like to do things yourself, a little more hands-on, do it firsthand. Test drive Zerto on our on-demand labs. There's quite a few new ones out there, so please go check them out and see, what if you like it, if you've not tested it out before. If you are interested in that HPE GreenLake model, there's free trials available, so go to testdrive.greenlake.hpe.com and check out those different solutions. And otherwise, if you scan that barcode, you'll be able to learn a lot more about what came out in Zerto 10 this past summer, which includes the Zerto Cyber Resilience Vault. And yeah, at this point in time, I'd love to take any questions. Thank you so much. Happy Halloween. Thanks for hanging in. And thank you again to all of my other presenters. Really appreciate y'all. I'm going to see if there's any questions that we're getting in here. Oh, scrolling down. How are we incorporating AI into Zerto? Anthony, I know that you've been talking to the AI team a bit at HPE and what we're starting to do there. Do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, I mean, right now there is nothing specifically in the works that we could say, but obviously AI and particularly generative AI is a big conversation that we're hearing a lot within the industry. How are products and solutions going to integrate that into it? All I can say is right now there isn't anything specific on the roadmap, but obviously it's of interest. And the only thing I could say is probably as close as the things that what we got is Zerto Analytics, again, providing that sort of predictive feature. It's not AI by any means necessary, but it's just another tool that you can use to derive insights and sort of help augment yourself when planning a disaster recovery strategy. But yes, nothing in the road works, but do stay tuned.
Awesome. And did we have any other questions? I'm trying to scroll up here. Let's maybe see just one more. All right, no, I think that person has left, so we're good. We're going to follow up with him directly. But hey, thank you again. I really appreciate Prabi Khan coming on, Anthony standing in, and everybody that joined and submitted stories. We really appreciate you. This is always a fun webinar to host. So thank you again. I hope you guys have a great and safe Halloween.